Alright, so adding CSS to a Rise export to ensure the keyboard navigation focus indicator is sufficiently visible. And if you're unfamiliar, the focus indicator is this highlight that appears around interactive elements when you're keyboard navigating through an environment using the Tab key. First, I wanted to show you some examples of what this CSS addresses, starting with the Scenario Interactive Block's Continue button. If your Rise course uses a button color that achieves at least 3:1 contrast, the WCAG AA contrast requirement for graphical objects, like the focus indicator, with black, the default color of Rise's focus indicator, learners shouldn't have any trouble seeing the focus indicator around this button. But if your button color fails to achieve 3:1 contrast with black, learners may struggle to see the indicator because it is flush with the button's border, providing no area of sufficient contrast along the indicator's inside edge. Thus, the button color and indicator color may blur together, leaving the indicator unseen. Quiz question submit buttons and button block buttons exhibit this same concern, while other buttons do provide an area of sufficient contrast along the indicator's inside edge, but one that is only a single pixel wide, which leaves the indicator similarly more difficult to see than we might want. If you've assigned a navigation button color that does not achieve 3:1 contrast with black, you may encounter a similar concern with the next lesson links Rise will add. And, depending on your selected theme and cover page template, you may encounter the same issue with the Start or Resume course buttons, or you may have an indicator that is itself only a single pixel wide, which would fail the AAA Focus Appearance Success criterion introduced in WCAG 2.2. Now, I should note, since I began experimenting with this CSS in 2023, improvements have been pushed out to Rise addressing some of these concerns. For instance, there were theme and cover page combinations that didn't display a focus indicator at all, but now do, and there were more buttons that presented the focus indicator flush along the button's borders. So, by the time you come to this video, you may encounter fewer of the issues shown earlier, which would be great and mean fewer CSS adjustments are needed. But if you find that CSS adjustments are needed to prevent focus visibility failures, or just to make the focus indicators easier to see, here's how you do it. First, publish your course from Rise the way you normally would. Next, unzip the published package and seek out the index.html file. In an LMS publish, it will likely be in the SCORM content folder. In a web publish, you should find it in the content folder. Open the index.html file in a program that allows you to edit HTML and CSS, such as Notepad on PC or TextEdit on Mac. Use the find function, Ctrl+F or Command+F, to search for a style tag within the head section. If one is present, do not include the opening and closing style tags in the HTML and CSS code you copy from the instructions. If one is not present, include the opening and closing style tags in what you copy. Next, paste the code into an appropriate spot within the head section. If style tags are present, paste the code within those tags. If style tags are not present, I like to paste the code right before the closing head section tag. If you've assigned a navigation button color that does not achieve 3:1 contrast with black, you'll likely want to copy and paste into a new line within the style section the lesson nav link rule as well. This rule expands the white background behind the focus indicator these links receive, so it is much more visible. Then, if necessary, copy the Start/Resume course button code from elsewhere in the instructions and paste this CSS into a new line within the style section. If the background around the Start Course button achieves 3:1 contrast with white, leave this CSS as is. But if the background around the Start Course button is white or otherwise fails to achieve 3:1 contrast with white, change white in the CSS to black. Next, save and close the index.html file. Then, we're going to rezip the eCourse package, but this does need to be done in a specific way to work with the UC Learning Center. Instead of rezipping the eCourses folder, go into that folder, select all of its contents, and initiate the rezip from there, which I'll do here on my PC by right-clicking any of the selected contents and choosing Send to Compressed Zipped Folder. You may want to give the resulting zip file a name more appropriate for an eCourse package, but otherwise, this zip should be ready for LMS upload. You should find, as a result of these CSS additions, that all buttons have a focus indicator that is at least 2 pixels wide and achieves at least 2 pixels of 3:1 contrast along both the focus indicator's inside and outside edges.